Happy Monday. Potentially one of the biggest posts from Elon Musk of all time. Very vague. He replied to a post from a person that was asking, if Robotaxi is so great, why aren't there more people on the network if it's this killer thing? You know, why is it so limited? Elon Musk replied, it's going to be opened up to more people next month, assuming the end of September. This has the potential to be the biggest catalyst for Tesla as the company in its history. But there's a lot of nuance here and a lot of vagueness that we have to walk through and understand what exactly this means. None of the information in this video is financial or investment advice. The stock was up over 4% today. At the time of this recording, it's about, 10 a.m. Central, so 11 Eastern. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the Cybertruck on FSD while we go through this video. I blanked doing that because I was so hyped about these news. And so let's walk through what this could mean. So my initial gut feel, where I am assuming Elon Musk is coming from, is that this is the California rideshare service going wide, not the Austin one. And there is a really big distinction between the two. If you're not familiar, Tesla unveiled a Robotaxi network in late June, so it's been, what the hell is today? August something? I don't even know what day it is. Who cares? Regardless, 7 weeks ago, they launched this thing in Austin. They launched it with a safety rider and nobody in the driver's seat. They, since that point, have expanded the network, the geofence, so how big of an area the network covers twice. So it's essentially quadruple in size in that time span. It is pretty close to the geofence of Waymo from a size perspective, a square miles perspective. Waymo is a little bit bigger. They have way more cars. They're open access. They don't have a safety rider. They're farther along in that curve, but they also started like 6, 7, 8 years ago. The Tesla service in California, however, has a safety driver. So they have to have somebody in the driver's seat. And that's because of regulation. So Tesla hasn't yet been approved and doesn't have the necessary data for them to operate as a fully self-driving operation in California because they have different standards than Texas. Now, this thing going wide in California means that Tesla would have to staff 100, 200 cars with a driver, quote unquote a driver, really a supervisor to make sure that the car is doing its thing, but somebody physically in the driver's seat for them to open this up by next month, realistically speaking. So they would have to go through a hiring process of at least 100 people. Realistically, it's 200 people, because for that size of geofence, you're gonna need at least 100 cars. There's gonna be at least 2 shifts for each car. So you're gonna need 2 different people in a car in a day. And then you have the weekend as well. You know, a human can't work 24/7. It's probably closer to 300 people or even 400 people they need to hire to ensure that this service is staffed properly for it to be open to the public. Because once it's open to the public, you're not gonna have myself and, I don't know, 50 or 100 other people. I don't even know how many people there are in this area that have access to Robotaxi, but you go from having 100 people potentially hailing a Robotaxi, where in California, it's up to 7 million people. But then you walk through that line of logic, okay? That means that Tesla would then have to spend the next 45 days, and perhaps they've already started, I'm sure they already started, but even if it was a 3-month process, onboarding 400 plus people for your most important asset, your most important line of the business, that, you know, where that person is in charge of ensuring that the car doesn't do something stupid and it makes global news, because anything Tesla going wrong makes global news, right? God forbid Waymo gets into an accident with a fire truck. No one's gonna see that. But, you know, a Tesla tire hits another car and doesn't leave any damage, front page news everywhere, right? It is what it is. That's the nature of the beast. To train that many people in that short of a period, to me, feels risky, right? It feels very risky. If we assume that the safety level of the network is not where it should be for them to go this quickly. On the flip side, if this really means the Austin Robotaxi network going live to the public in Austin, and we also assume that scaling that many people that quickly to oversee your most important asset is a risky thing, then going wide to an open user base where nobody's in the sort of, you're opening it up to everybody, you remove the risk of having somebody in the seat that shouldn't be there by not having somebody at all. Then we're on the cusp, potentially, maybe, of Tesla opening up its Robotaxi network without a safety rider or a safety driver that will go head-to-head with Uber and Waymo in the span of 3 months, which took Waymo years. And it becomes a immediate validation of the approach Tesla has taken to launch a self-driving ride-hailing network. It is it. That is it. It validates the thesis of Tesla's approach of spending the last 6-7 years front-loading the hardware necessary for self-driving vehicles into their mass market product, aka the Model 3 and the Model Y, and absorbing the negative cost impact from that up front, because the sensors and the computer in the car to self-drive cost them, let's say, like $2,000 to put in the car. And this whole time they've put billions and billions of dollars in the AI brain to figure out how to make the car drive. That entire thesis that the company has been made fun of, has been attacked for, anybody like myself and hundreds and thousands of other people that are shouting from the rooftops, this is happening, and we're all called lunatics, fanboys, idiots, dick riders, whatever you want to call it. All those people that saw what was going to happen and they can't help but say it, all that stuff will actually come true. If that is what he means by that. Since the launch of Robotaxi, I've been doing videos every day. Essentially, almost. It's feels like almost every day, where you actually use Robotaxi as my means of transportation to get into the city, to get into downtown Austin, to work every day, right? For this stuff that I'm building. And I capture videos and I post them online. I've shared my models, all that stuff. So I experience it every day, and the service is great. Like for the last couple of weeks, since I've been using it, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, like actively using it, I haven't run into any issues. I truly haven't run into any issues. If the safety rider wasn't there, it wouldn't have been a problem, to be completely honest. Now I take a route that's maybe not the hardest route in the world, but you still see weird stuff, and I've captured all this stuff, right? Like people around the car doing some crazy stuff. So it has been working for me. And so maybe in my head, I'm like, okay, it actually going wide is actually becoming real, doesn't feel real, even though I experience it every day, because this has been years in the making, okay? It's a very odd, weird time where the entire backdrop, the entire thesis, what has been building up for the few years is actually happening. Like it actually physically, in the real world, I can touch it and feel it and see it with my eyes and my legs and everything. This truck is driving itself and has been since I purchased it, okay? And Teslas have been driving themselves since FSD with varying degrees of success. As of late, it has been wonderful, okay? The thesis is playing out, but I still don't think it's next month. Because Elon said that they're working as hard as possible to get 100 people staffed for the California team. So my gut tells me that the one that's going wide is California, not Austin. But still then, if you really think about it, that California network is going to be a good training ground, a phenomenal training ground for the company to do a ton of validation in a really big geofence. And the cost that Tesla is charging for that network right now today in California with a safety driver is less than Uber, already less than Uber. And so once they're able to yank that driver out of the seat, all of a sudden, if they can continue to charge those prices in California that are less than Uber, but not, let's say, half the price of Uber like they have in Austin, that means that Tesla's gonna make an unbelievable amount of money per mile in that region, because the cost to operate a self-driving vehicle, at Tesla specifically, because of their scale advantage and their technology advantage, the cost per mile is gonna be like 60 cents. And if they're charging a little bit less than Uber in California, in that Bay Area, which is probably close to $2.50 per mile, all of a sudden, Tesla's gonna make close to $2 per mile in profit, in just straight up profit. It goes to the bottom line. After Tesla accounts for maintenance, insurance, cleaning, charging, miscellaneous expenses, everything. And now that I'm thinking about it, is that the strategy for Tesla, is to actually do that in California, get the service ramped with 100 cars, cover the Bay Area as best as you can, start charging fares, start collecting revenue, and then have it posted on the P&L. It's gonna be very small, like 100 cars, realistically speaking, 100 cars, if you assume they make $300 a day in revenue, that's $30,000 a day in revenue? Zero, yeah, so $30,000 a day in revenue. And then over 30 days, that's $900,000, so almost $1 million a month in revenue, okay? You can very easily take that number and then say, okay, so here's what our costs are. Right now they're ridiculous, but once we yank the safety rider or the driver and we start trending towards a really good robotaxi to teleoperator ratio, where we only need one person overseeing the network for every 10 cars that are on the road. So with 100 robotaxis will be 10 teleoperators, the cost per mile, that 60 cents that I mentioned, that's what it will be. It'll be 60 cents per mile, and this is how much revenue is coming in. And so just do the math and look at the margin we're making. The cost of building the car, the cost of building the actual robotaxi, which my guess for the Model Y is going to be somewhere around $30,000 to $35,000, the revenue we'll make from the service, so the profit we'll make from the service at California prices of $2 per mile, will take about 15,000 miles of driving to pay for that car. And 15,000 miles of driving, it's probably like half the year. And so your return on invested capital, your ROI, your return on investment is 6 months. And then everything after the 6 months, it's just gravy. It just goes to the bottom line. It just, whoop. I mean, it technically goes to the bottom line from the beginning because your cars are, it's CapEx, or it's sort of in an asset line. It's in the balance sheet. Doesn't hit your P&L anyway. This is stupid. But that's how it works. Okay. So if that's the idea, then that's a very smart way of showing profitability to the investor base. But if they're doing it in Austin, that takes it to a whole different level, because you're not just showcasing like what's going to happen, you're showcasing what has happened. And what has happened is an absolute disruption to the transportation model in the United States, where the cost per mile to get from point A to point B is 60 cents, which is less than the average cost per mile of owning and operating your own vehicle, which is about 70 cents to 80 cents in the United States for a new or lightly used car. If you're going for a straight beater, it's gonna be below that, but you're stuck with a straight beater, like a 1992 Honda Accord or something, which I'm sure is a phenomenal car, to be honest. And we'll get to point A to point B, no problem. But it will start to rival that, and you'll never have to maintain it, and you'll never have to care for it, and you'll never have to worry about it breaking down, and it's gonna be safer than you driving because it has all the eyes around it, and you never have to park it, you never have to charge it. You'll pay 70, 60 cents per mile at cost if you own it. You probably start paying $1 per mile to actually use it, or even more, potentially $2 or more for the next 12 to 18 months until the whole thing ramps and they have millions of robotaxis everywhere in the next few years, and then the cost per mile really plummets once the Cybercab is out and all that stuff at 20 cents per mile. It starts getting crazy. But then the thesis becomes a reality. The broader market will start to price that in, and potentially this is what we're starting to see, potentially. But if you're a follower of the company, an investor, a fan, or whatever, this is the moment that everybody has been waiting for. But it's very important to also set the expectation that says hiccups will happen. Accidents are unavoidable. Regulators stepping in, probably unavoidable, especially in very strict states. Labor displacement, if this thing goes live and it goes up without a hiccup and it just eats the market, you're gonna have millions of displaced drivers in the next 1 to 5 years. What is that gonna do to the economy? What is that gonna do to the general well-being of people? Is the economy suited to absorb that labor loss in driving? Is Tesla going to get attacked because here comes Elon stealing your jobs, and all these rich people are getting richer because they can invest in AI stocks, right? What does that mean for the brand? What does that mean for the vehicles? This is a very complex situation, you guys. This is a gigantic disruption to transportation, and it doesn't come without its risks. It doesn't come without its hiccups. If you've been following the company, you know this entire story is filled with landmines, left and right, and forward and backwards, and above you and below you, all right? Because it's so disruptive. But the real idea here is that a true self-driving platform that is pennies on the dollar long term will massively increase the access for people to get around and do so safely. That is the core thesis of Robotaxi long term, and that is the reason why it will succeed, is if it can give people the ability to go from one point to another at a very low price, incredibly safely and reliably, to where they no longer have to spend money on a road missile that could potentially leave them dead. 40,000 deaths per year in the United States, something like 1 million injuries. Half of those 40,000 deaths are distracted or drunk driving, okay? That is the core thesis here. And then the flip side is, you're taking away my right to drive. You just, a machine has taken my job. What if I'm in the car and, I do something illegal, all of a sudden the cameras are gonna flag the cops and they're gonna come get me in the car, I won't be able to get to my point, okay? These are the next generation conversations we're gonna have to go through and figure out, because a lot of these are honestly valid. They're valid. Like, so we have self-driving cars everywhere. What does that mean? What does that mean for society? Does that mean automatically we have to give up some sort of freedom? I don't think so, right? But is it good for saving lives? Obviously. Is it good for allowing people to get around more cheaply? Obviously, right? So, as anything in life, you have pros and cons, and we have to figure out, okay, how do we keep as much of the pros rather, and mitigate the cons? And that is the real conversation for the next 1 to 5 years. Not, is Tesla gonna figure out how to do Robotaxi? Of course they are, obviously. Obviously, you guys, just come to Austin and take a ride. Just come to Austin and take a ride. Once they open it up, you all can come and check it out. So anyway, it's pretty amazing. And this Cybertruck is driving me around right now, and it has been driving me the whole time, and it drives me every freaking day. We have a Model Y with hardware 3 that's been driving us every freaking day. When I get a Turo for a Model 3 with hardware 4, it drove me around St. Pete freaking everywhere. Same thing in California when I got a Model Y with FSD, okay? These are incredible technologies. And this allows me to do a video like this, where I can monitor the car and make sure it's driving safely, and I can just dump my brain and create content. This would be impossible for me specifically, how my brain works, unless I had FSD in the car, right? And what's even cooler is that now this truck can turn into a studio for my business, right? And I can make it look sick any way I want. And that's why I freaking had it wrapped with G from Test Bros. He did an incredible job, and he's got this wraps for Model Ys and Model 3s, do-it-yourself kits, these DIY kits. He also has a shop in Chattanooga you can go check out and get your Tesla wrapped as well. He's looking to introduce more cars as well, but his Tesla wraps are insanely good, super professional, and just an all-around great person. If you're interested in getting one of his wraps, use the link in the description in the comment section below. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Mwah. Love you guys. Bye.